Hey everyone, welcome back to TopherDrives, where this week I've been daily driving this 2025 Porsche Macan Electric, one of the few new EVs that I've actually been looking forward to since it came out last year. And you guys know, I don't give EVs a ton of screen time on TopherDrives unless they're really cool or they mean something to me. And well, I'm a bit of a self-proclaimed Porsche fanboy, but not in the way that I won't call out Porsche for their flaws. And I'm looking forward to sharing the experience of the Macan EV with you today as we show you what it's like to live with. We're kind of going back to normal. We're going to take this around the test loop. We're going to go into town, stop at the store, and end in the parking structure. And I'm looking forward to doing that because I genuinely want to show what this Macan is like to live with, as we do here on TopherDrives. But before we get into all of that, I want to talk about this particular car we have here in front of us. Now, even though this is an EV, it's still a Porsche, which means there are lots of flavors to choose from. This particular one is the 4S, which means we have two electric motors, 100 kilowatt hour battery, combined power output of both electric motors, 509 horsepower and 604 pound-feet of torque. However, you only get that inflated amount of power when you use launch control, which means if you're just driving this around normally and you floor the gas, you only get 442 horsepower. It's so funny these days, isn't it? I feel like power is so just like inflated by EVs. I say only 442 horsepower, but this does weigh 5,200 pounds. So it's not light, even though it's really not that big of an SUV. This is just how EVs are. They're very powerful, they're very heavy, and they're all kind of the same. My buddy Sean texted me this week because he knew that I've been driving this. He's a fellow Porsche enjoyer, and he asked me a question that stuck with me the entire week. He said, would this still be a good car if it wasn't a Porsche, if it wasn't wearing this badge right here? And I hope we can kind of answer that through today's video. So we're going to poke around this. I mentioned this is the 4S. It's middle of the trim range. So there's the base model, there's the 4, there's the 4S, there's the GTS, and there's the Turbo. Since this sits in the middle, it's very sort of middle-y priced. This starts at $88,000, and again, since it's a Porsche, we have a ton of options. This one, as spec today, is $102,000, but really that's nothing. You can spec this all the way up into the mid-$100,000 range. We'll put the entire spec of this car in the description, but we have some tasteful options and some maybe not so tasteful. This frozen blue paint, I know, is a little bit controversial. I personally like it, but it's very much a like flex for Instagram color and aesthetic, you know, posing next to it with your matching blue handbag type thing. But I think it works for the Macan EV. What I don't super love are these 21-inch Macan design wheels that don't have colored crests. I think they look a little bit awkward and maybe a little too futuristic here. And we have some massive snow tires on this. We have a Pirelli Scorpion. On the front, we have a 255/45 R21, and we have a massive 285/40 R21 on the back. So a bit of a staggered setup. And one thing I do love about the Porsche fleet cars here in Michigan is that they do always make sure that these cars are equipped with snows when they're out during the winter, so that is much appreciated. Inside, we have a chalk interior. We have the thermally noise insulated glass. We have Sport Chrono. And again, we'll have the whole spec in the description, but I like that this is still a Porsche. At the end of the day, you're able to kind of spec this exactly how you want, and that does keep some of the Porsche special touch alive with this otherwise kind of boring EV SUV. So with that, let's start poking around it, and also because I'm shivering, so we'll go through this as fast as we can, starting in the trunk, which is actually quite sizable, quite usable. You can see Porsche sent a charger for us to charge the car, of course, because I have found some of these German cars are a little bit finicky if you're using an aftermarket charger, so always good to use your OEM level 2 that comes with the car for when you are charging at home. Underneath the trunk floor, you can see our Bose sound system equipment. This car is equipped with the premium pack, which gets you the 14-way comfort seats. It gets you the Bose sound system and some other stuff. But that alone is about a $5,000 option. As far as exterior design goes, this is one of those cars that I think a lot of people were looking forward to when it was first announced. Porsche usually teases these cars for quite a while. They send camouflaged examples out, people spy them, And we kind of get this skewed image of what these cars are actually going to be. And I don't know that this one really lived up to everyone's expectations. I think the exterior design is a bit boring, to be completely honest. I just don't know that they completely hit the mark with this, and I don't really know that it looks better in person either, but you guys can let me know what you think. Let's step in the back. Your first look here at this chalk interior. Now this has kind of the second level of interior niceness. This has the leather package in chalk, but you can also get the extended leather, which does kind of the tops of the door panels and things, but this is mid-grade, so it's okay. Sat here behind myself at 5'11", the back seat's snug. Genuinely, I was actually shocked at the lack of room back here. Headroom is okay. I am hitting my head a little bit at 5'11", but you do have these little indentations here, and I'm also wearing a camera on my head, so it's a little bit of an unfair comparison. We've got this center console that folds down with some cup holders. You've got a middle seat here, which the climate control thing back here sticks out so far. I don't know how anyone could actually use the middle seat, but you do have a seat belt here for it in case you did want to do that, maybe for a child or someone without legs. You've got two seat back pockets here, which is always nice to see, and the materials on the door panels seem to be okay. You can see our Bose sound system here. And before we step up front, we'll show you the frunk on this, but I do actually want to compliment Porsche for putting a proper door handle on this, because this just proves that they know how to make one, unlike the door handles that they put on the 911 that are kind of the arrow ones that are very annoying. And I think it's really funny that they put arrow door handles on a car that isn't electric, and then they put normal door handles on a car that is. Very strange. But anyway, let's show you this frunk, which I like. It just opens itself when you use the key, which this key does look a little bit different than some of the other Porsche keys that I have seen while driving some of their other products this year. We've got a somewhat usable frunk, enough space for a portable charger or a grocery run, which we'll maybe use this today and see how much we can fit. You've got this little divider here that has someone's parking ticket in there from before I had the car. And then you close this like any other Porsche frunk. There you go. Alrighty, guys. Other details on this car while we're on the outside, I don't think there's too much. This has an EPA estimated range of just under 300 miles, I think 288. When I've been pulling it off the charger this week, I've been seeing more like 240 miles. We currently have about half a charge, and it's showing like 100 miles. I think we're at like a 44% or something. I just went and picked this up from the Topher because he spent a couple of days with it after I did. So it's been driven, we've spent our time in it, but I'm gonna hop in because I am seriously cold. My goodness. This does the typical Porsche EV thing where you get in and it just starts itself. I'm pretty used to this at this point. I've driven enough Taycans and things now where it does not bother me, but I do like being in control, getting in and hitting the stop-start button myself. Luckily, some of the other automated things, like having the car lock when you walk away and unlock when you approach, you can turn that stuff off in the infotainment. Now, up here is where I have some other gripes with this car, because this, at the end of the day, this is a $100,000 car, and the mix of materials in here, they're very strange, because you have this nice stitched leather on the top of the dash. You can see your deviated chalk stitching to match the bottom of the dash and the seats. But then you have this very cheap, toyish center console that's just like really hard, scratchy, cheap-looking plastic. And not only do I not like the materials they've used here, I also don't like the design, because they've buried the cup holders so low that unless you have a big dumb cup like Emily uses, like one of those big Stanley cups, these cup holders are just unusable. Like if you have a little coffee down here, you have to reach into the abyss to pull it out, and then you end up like pulling the lid off, and it's like a whole thing. So the design of the center console, not very kind for beverages, but we know that the Germans, you know, they don't prioritize beverages anyway, so I guess it kind of makes sense. You've got an extra little cubby under here, which is kind of the only thing I like about the console, is there is some storage space. And then you have this hidden compartment in front of the climate control that's very hard to operate. You can see once it opens, it then is irritating to close. Okay. We've got heated and ventilated seats on this car, which you're able to operate simultaneously. Always love to see that in a Porsche vehicle. Vent placement seems to be okay, and it actually has vent taps, which means you can aim these at yourself. Thank you, Porsche, for not continuing what you did with the new Panamera, where you have to go into the infotainment to aim the vents at yourself. This is actually a very human design. You can use this and have heat where you would like it very easily. Otherwise, pretty normal Porsche stuff. We have this gorgeous steering wheel. I think Porsche does some of the best steering wheels on the market right now. Very convenient drive mode selector right here on the wheel. Everything reacts very quickly. I mentioned our powertrain with the 509 horsepower, 604 pound-feet of torque. But I didn't mention our suspension setup. So this has the PASM air suspension, Porsche Active Suspension Management, and everything reacts pretty quickly, and I'm pretty happy with the suspension overall. I do like that they throw that in for your $88,000 starting price. At least they give you some technology there. And we've got some cool ambient lighting on here as well, which is still active during the day. You can see things kind of change and make reactions when you switch your drive modes. This also has the Porsche Sport electric sound, which is like a $500 option or something. The only annoying thing about that is you have to turn it on every time you switch drive modes because the car has short-term memory loss and it defeats it every time. I guess it's just dark enough today we can see all of these pretty easily. You can also make it so this ambient lighting changes the gauge cluster and infotainment theme as well, but I'm going to leave it in blue today, and I think we should just go ahead and go and get on the road because we're just sitting in this parking lot, and I think we should go drive because that is where this car starts to seem a bit better and make a little bit more sense. So let's go into reverse with our bronze shaver mounted on the dashboard. Pretty consistent among Porsche SUVs these days to have this shifter on the dash. You can see we have a 360 camera and reversing camera, both pretty high quality. The Macan Electric is available with rear wheel steering, though it is not an option that's been selected on this car. I think that would be nice to have, though, even though this isn't a super big car. It would make it seem a bit more high quality. I gotta say, I love the steering from a luxurious standpoint. I think this SUV gives you that luxury feel when you're maneuvering just because the steering is very light and quick. So you're able to make your movements happen at a moment's notice. You can see air suspension behaving quite nicely there over that speed bump, and for the most part it does. The only thing is with these 21-inch wheels, you do have some crashiness over bumps, and it's really not the car's fault. I mean, you can have a smaller wheel on this, and it would probably help your range as well. Inputs on this car are, I think, some of the best I've felt in an EV, to be completely honest. The brake pedal, at least, feels like an internal combustion car, which is pretty high praise for an EV because there's a lot that this brake pedal has to do. It has to manage regen, it has to manage the actual brakes, and it has to do it in a natural way, which is, I think, the main thing that manufacturers do struggle with, trying to make EVs feel natural, and Porsche really has nailed it with this brake pedal. And I think one of the biggest advantages here for this car is that there is no one-pedal driving, so you kind of just have to drive this like it's a normal car, and it kind of tricks your brain into thinking that it is. So it doesn't really drive exactly the same as every other EV. We always like to joke and say all EVs drive the same, and to an extent they do, but this one you have to think a little bit more and actually drive it like a car. When I lift my foot off the accelerator, you can see you have a little bit of regen. You can toggle that with this custom button here the Topher and I have set to manage the regen, so you either can have it on or off. I like to leave it on because it gives you just that little bit of extra, but it's not very strong. I mean, it feels kind of like a level 1 regen on any other EV that maybe you could control with the paddle shifter or with the setting in the screen. Anyway, though, let's forget about practicality for just a second because I want to show you what this thing can do. Now, this isn't the turbo. This isn't going to rip your face off, but I think it's a pretty good power level for this car. I think EVs these days are so fast that we kind of lose touch with what a fast car really is. And with this having 442 horsepower under my right foot, I mean, it still feels quite fast. and it's fast enough. Coming out of the corner there. Feels very planted and neutral through corners. There's no insane body roll or anything, which is nice. I think Porsche's main goal is usually to make their cars feel like a Porsche before an EV, before an SUV. They try to have their DNA be the first thing. And the way that this car drives does reflect that to an extent. Let's put this into sport and go around that corner one more time. I think the power level here is everything that anyone would ever need for a daily driver. I mean, you're not buying a Macan EV as like a weekend car. This is something that you're going to use every day. Let's actually go Sport Plus. I want all the suspension. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Got to outrun the Buick Lucerne. You can see our active arrow popping up there. Oh, we should turn on our electric sport sound. There you go. Give you guys an idea of what that sounds like. No, this car is properly quick. Ooh, we're depleting range like crazy. One more time around the corner. Oh. Rear end stepping out a little bit there. I was talking to the Topher earlier when we did our car swap, and he was like, yeah, if you turn everything off, it'll actually like stick the tail out a little bit, which I love that. I love that they've kind of tuned the ability to have some fun with this car into it, because they could tune it out just as easily as they can tune it in. So that's much appreciated. All right, we're gonna go up here and we're gonna do a launch control, unleash the entire 509 horsepower and 604 pound-feet of torque. I do love spamming the controls in EVs. All right, let's get this off the line. Yeah, no, that hits pretty hard still. I mean, it's a noticeable difference on launch control versus just like flooring it in Sport Plus mode. You do really feel that extra 60 horsepower. I think I have to do one more. I'm going to be calling Emily, honey, I'm stranded. I used all of my range doing launch controls, but you know what? It's worth it, and it's the best way, I think, to show off this car. So let's do one more. This air suspension is so compliant. You can feel it making an adjustment every millisecond. It's making sure that the car stays level, because I know it's fighting so hard to not just squat like crazy when it comes off the line. EVs can be fun. Now, do I think this is as entertaining as something like an Ioniq 5N? Probably not. I don't think that they've really put as much soul into this. Even the Porsche Taycan, specifically the Turbo GT, which was about double the price of this plus some. Well, I think, wasn't that thing over like 200,000? The Taycan Turbo GT was just the most insane piece of engineering that I've ever driven. This doesn't feel quite as special. I also think it has something to do with the fact that Porsche doesn't put the 2-speed transmission in this like they do with the Taycan. So this is just a regular single-speed, dual-motor electric vehicle, which is just kind of very standard, you know, in the market right now. This is kind of what everything is that has this amount of power. But what I like about this, and what I think stands out just a bit more, is that Porsche has added their signature kind of steering feel, their brake pedal feel, and their accelerator feel. So you have those kind of emotional touch points with this car that do set it aside somewhat. Now, I'm not saying by any means that this is like driving a 911 or a Cayman or a Boxster or even really a Panamera, because you don't have like a crazy amount of emotion, but I think if you blindfolded me and put me in this, I would still be able to tell you it's a Porsche. And that should say something. So anyway, what about when you get it out onto the highway? Well, I mentioned that this has the thermally and noise insulated glass, which is about a $900 option. It means it's very quiet, even on a snow tire. You also do get carried away with the speed in this because it's so smooth. It kind of hunkers down when you're up to speed, making itself as efficient as possible. Of course, trying to extend this range, which we are down to 37% at this point. Luckily, Ann Arbor has lots of chargers if I need, but I'm not worried. I've got 86 miles still indicated here on the dash, so we will be okay. But it does make the effort. I would actually like to see what it looks like all lowered down. Topher told me it does get very high up when it's in its off-road mode, which is cool as well. You can extend that ground clearance and go down a trail or something, I suppose. Anyway, though, what's it like when you're just driving normal? Well, let's go ahead and set our cruise control. 78, or 75 rather, there we go. This has all the normal stuff, adaptive cruise, you've got lane keep assist, or lane departure warning, I think that is. You can adjust your adaptive cruise distance here on this little independent stalk, which this is something I love that Porsche does, and I super appreciate that they carry it over to their EVs and their newest cars, that they could very easily take it out of and make it something overcomplicated that goes on the steering wheel. But no, it's just down here on the left-hand side, and it's kind of like muscle memory using this thing. It's very easy to remember. The speedo is very optimistic. You can see Waze reading out there 72. The car thinks I'm going 75. Interesting. All right, we're going to cancel that. Actually, sitting in this, it's pretty comfortable. These 14-way comfort seats do a pretty good job, and you've got a ton of adjustment. You've got a leg extension here, which is nice. And the seats are honestly probably one of the nicest things in this interior. Some of the other things in here, I mentioned there are some hard plastics, and things do rattle. I think I've gotten this interior heated up enough to where you can't hear it in today's video. But first thing in the morning, you get up in this, you pull out of your driveway, and there are so many things rattling. In particular, this dashboard trim right here, the upper right-hand corner. Emily was riding along with her hand on it so it would stop rattling. Earlier this week, there was some kind of rattle in the hatch as well. But once you get some heat in this interior, it's fine. I'm not excusing it, especially since this is a $100,000 car. I don't think there should be any rattles whatsoever. The real test will be once we go over some potholes once we get off the highway and see how this interior behaves. But before we do that, why don't we test out this sound system? If you guys watched my Genesis G80 video, you'll know that we have a new song. Also, I just updated my phone, so now I don't know how to use anything in CarPlay. But we have a new song here for our sound system test. This has the Bose sound system, which is part of the premium pack. Just get to my liked songs. Thank you so much. Okay. So let's try it out. We've got a volume knob down here. How about that? Something we love to see. You can adjust volume on the steering wheel as well. Bose systems are kind of always just middle of the road for me, and I have to bring this up every time I drive a Porsche, and it's that I wish I could listen to a Porsche Burmester someday, because I want to know if it's worthy of spending the couple extra $1,000s to do the upgrade. But the Bose in this, it's okay. I don't think it's like shocking. It's just about what you'd expect for a car in this segment. So no real complaints, but I think they could go and make it just a bit crispier. if they wanted to, but that's why they give you the option to do the Burmester, though I don't know. Can you get a Burmester with the Macan EV? I know you can with the regular Macan. I'll have to check that in the configurator because I did not notice when I was speccing one out the other day. I was gonna make a joke about exhaust noise under the under the bridges there, but we have our interior sport noise that you have to pay $500 extra for. There's one thing Porsche's gonna do, they're gonna nickel and dime you for literally every single little option. So, and that extends to EVs. They charge you to play a noise through the speakers. I genuinely think my favorite part about this car is the brake pedal because it feels so natural. You're able to do limo stops in this, and that's not something you can do with a lot of EVs. I was driving the Subaru Solterra. I drive EVs all the time. You guys just don't see them because I never film them for the channel. I just film them for Winding Road, and then I usually call it a day. But I was driving the Subaru Solterra. What else? Oh, the Hyundai Ioniq 9. Those are the two that come to mind, and I could not, for the life of me, stop smoothly. I just couldn't do it. And you can do it in the Macan Electric. So Porsche cares about driving dynamics. They're never going to let a car out the door that has a wonky throttle or a wonky brake pedal. Never known them to do that. I don't think they ever will. Which means even though you don't have one pedal driving in traffic feels just so normal. And check this out. When there's a car in your blind spot, it lights up the ambient lighting yellow. That's cool. I always love some good interactive features. But anyway, all right, well, we're getting close to the store here. I think as far as EVs go, this is one of the best. But it's still a little bit hard for me to feel excited about it because I know how good the internal combustion engine Macan is. And I don't know that this is good enough or even convenient enough to excuse buying over that car, because the regular Macan, it's so good. We had a Macan S a few years ago, and I absolutely adored that car. And while this car is nice, sure, I definitely wouldn't say that I adore it. I think it's kind of just car with a couple things that tell me it's a Porsche. I don't know that it really goes above and beyond. I think it has just enough. It's just enough Porsche to be Porsche, if that makes sense. It's an Porsche. Visibility out of this car is okay. I can see everything I need out of the front. Since this kind of has the coupe design going on, and that is the only body style option you have for this, it's a little bit hard to see out of the back. And you've got some pretty nasty blind spots on the C-pillars as well. Luckily, you have all that blind spot technology to help you in that, as you can see right there. But it's the price you pay for the fastback design or the coupe design that they give a lot of these SUVs these days. But maneuverability is great. I really wish this had the rear wheel steering because I think I would like it just that much more. It looks like our normal spot is covered with snow, but we will go right next to it and next to this RAV4 Adventure, I think that is. Just love the steering ratio here. And even though these cameras are covered in salt and everything else, they are doing the trick just fine, getting me into that spot no problem. Park is a button above your shifter. I don't mind that at all, and it makes a very good click when you touch it. Speaking of button clicks, I forgot to mention, we do still actually have physical controls for our climate, which is nice, and I do love the clicks that these make. You guys saw me using the volume knob. That's kind of where things end as far as this goes. Porsche always used to have that really big panel with all of the buttons, and they've kind of made it a bit smaller, just down to a few. But it seems like all the things that matter are still physical buttons, like we showed you with the cruise control, the volume, the climate. Everything is still accessible in this car. I don't really think there's anything annoying that is buried in here, so that's nice. Even the traction control button is physical right there, so you're able to put PSM into sport at a moment's notice. All right, let's see what this looks like in a parking spot. These door handles are electric, even though they don't look like they are. It just takes a little bit of a pull to unlock it, but if you pull all the way, it's the physical or the mechanical release if you get stuck in the car or something. Overall, I think this car is a good size for the world in 2026. Fits in a spot with no problem, and when you're driving in traffic, it doesn't feel large either. But even opening doors to a car next to you, you know, this feels like a perfectly appropriate size. So, all right, well, I'm gonna stick my camera back in the car. I'm gonna go get a couple bags of groceries, and we'll see if we can fit them all into the frunk. Alrighty, guys, the moment of truth is now. Let's see if we can fit 2 bags of groceries in the frunk. This is not looking too promising, but you know what? I haven't given up hope yet. Let's see. Oh, actually. Oh! Check it out. It's a little bit misguiding because it kind of angles down towards the front of the car and it looks a lot shallower than it actually is, but those fit in there with no problem whatsoever. Okay, well, let's jump in and finish our drive into the city with our groceries in the frunk of our Macan. I think the last time we had groceries in the frunk of a Porsche, it was in the GT3 Touring. Okay, into drive. I don't know if there's a way to deploy the parking cameras, which is a little bit unfortunate. I think if you go into reverse first, yeah, there you go. That's an easy way to get it. Be able to do a bit of a turning circle test here. Not bad, actually. Would be even better with rear-wheel steering. I just noticed the regen setting stays between key cycles, so that is nice. You don't have to hit that custom diamond button every time you get in. It also remembers that you had your heated steering wheel on, so you don't have to toggle that on. It's so funny in the way that this car remembers those things, and yet it can't remember to leave its electric sport sound on. I get it. I have selective memory as well. It's okay. So I think as we get into the city, we should talk about the question we raised at the beginning of the video. If this car didn't have a Porsche badge on it, would it still be a good car? And I think I may be changing my answer a bit, because I think if this car didn't have a Porsche badge on it, I would be praising it for its steering, its brakes, and its accelerator control, overall inputs. But that almost makes me think maybe it's not as standout-ish as a Porsche because it doesn't really do much else for me. This is not exciting in the way that the Taycan Turbo GT was, or even just like a base 911, or like a Porsche Cayenne, like lowish trim. Like the Cayenne S was awesome that we had last year, the new V8 Cayenne S, lots of fun. EVs as a whole don't really do it for me unless they're really special, and I don't know that this one is special enough for me to recommend it or say that it stands out. However, I understand that the purpose of cars in this segment isn't necessarily to be exciting. A mid-size or compact, rather, electric SUV isn't really made to blow your mind. However, I think a company like Porsche should maybe be striving to reach that. And maybe the turbo model is that, but even a mid-grade 4S, I feel like it should have a little bit more. It should maybe give me some fizz. And yes, it's fast on a launch control, and yes, the driving inputs are pretty good, but I think I'm gonna leave this wanting more out of this car. And for something that costs $100,000, I don't know that that's the way I want to be leaving this, especially with this plastic fantastic center console and just multitude of interior rattles and just other things in this car that I think Porsche could do better. And it worries me a little bit in the direction Porsche is going. I mean, I know some of their newer cars I have very much liked. All of the 911s that I've driven, I quite liked the Panamera GTS, even though the vents were stupid. And I loved the Taycan Turbo GT. That was an EV, and it blew my mind, though that car was painful. I think that one was a little bit too fast. The power level here is good, and it's not even really that I wish this car was faster, because you can get the Macan Turbo and you can get it faster. I don't even really think it needs to be faster. I think the power level is good, but there's just, I don't know. it could just be me not being super excited by EVs, but maybe Porsche could have done something a little bit more. Maybe they could have spruced the interior up a bit more. You guys have to let me know in the comments what you think, but I don't think it's out of left field to be asking for more in an SUV this size. That's $100,000. So that's my 2 cents on this car. By no means is this a bad vehicle. I don't think it's bad. I wouldn't judge somebody for buying it. In fact, I would say, cool, you'll probably enjoy that. But from an enthusiast perspective, driving a car from an enthusiast brand, it just doesn't really give me the fizz. And that's just kind of where I'm at with this. So it's a good car. You can fit stuff in the frunk. It's practical in that way. Backseat's kind of small. There's no way the backseat in the regular Macan is that small. I think it's this one's smaller for sure. So, you know, pros and cons to this entire thing, but I think we'll continue to see the Macan Electric evolve. See, as we pull up behind a Cayenne, just a base Cayenne, still a lovely car. I think we'll see this car continue to evolve, and maybe they'll tweak some things here and there and make it a little bit more of an attractive option. But this is tough for me. I told you guys at the beginning of the video, I love a Porsche. I mean, I rarely drive a Porsche that I don't like, and I can't even say that I don't like this car. I know Porsche, and I have faith that they can build something that's a little bit more exciting and a little bit more standout-ish in the segment. So that's just what I think. That's my take on the Macan Electric, and probably the reason that I don't review a lot of electric cars, as you guys can see. I think we're going to have a market shift coming up here, and things are going to change here pretty soon on what companies are making kind of for their baseline and what we see going forward into the future. Anyway, love the maneuverability, and hey, if you're somebody that doesn't really care about having a car that is like super engaging and visceral, which I know the Macan EV is probably not meant to be that, but if you're somebody that just likes this car from an aesthetic standpoint, that's great, because this car is available in some really good colors. You know, there's cool lighting situations in here, and it really is just very easy to drive and easy to live with. So I think from that perspective, it makes a little bit more sense, and I kind of just have to accept the fact that Porsche didn't make this car for me. This is not a car that's aimed at somebody like me, so which is a little hard to swallow from a company like Porsche, but you know, it's okay. And oh man, the roof is closed. That's right, we'll go over here. We'll end in my second favorite place. My goodness, that building is going up quickly. Into park. And hey, at least the power button is on the left. Alrighty guys, well, we'll give you one last look at this frozen blue Macan Electric 4S. Curious to hear your thoughts. Would you buy this? Would you buy an ICE Macan? Would you do something else in this segment? I do like the taillight design here, the strip taillight. Looks good, though it does kind of remind me of an old Lincoln MKZ. I feel like everyone just copied that and like rolled with it. Anyway, okay, that's it. Thank you guys all so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one. Please let me know what you think of this, and that'll be it. Take care.